Hey guys, so today we're going to be starting chapter 2, which is all about trigonometry. For this first lesson, we're just going to be going over how to solve for missing angles using the tangent ratio. Okay, so this is lesson 2.1, finding angles with tan. So simple trig ratios are the type of trig ratios that we're going to be focusing on this year. You get to other trig formulas next year. But the simple trig ratios can work to find both missing side lengths and missing angles, but only for right triangles. And there are three simple trig ratios. We have the tangent, sine, and cosine ratios. And this, SOHCAHTOA, is kind of our way of representing all of those trig ratios. So S is for sine, C is for cosine, T is for tangent, and then anywhere you see an O is for opposite, A's are for adjacent, and H's are for hypotenuse. So anytime you're dealing with these simple trig ratios, whether you're finding an angle or a side, step one is always the same. So your very first thing you need to do is label your sides. So label the sides of your triangle. The hypotenuse is going to be across from the right angle. The opposite side is the side that's directly across from the angle that you're either using in the formula or the angle that you're trying to find. And then the adjacent side is just the other side. It's going to be beside the angle. Adjacent means beside, but it's not the hypotenuse. So I always save it for last. And then step two, anytime you're finding an angle, is going to be to plug in the two known side lengths that you need to use, and the sides that you're using depend on whether you're using sine, cosine, or tangent. So for tangent, we always use the opposite side and the adjacent side. And so you're going to plug those into your formula, and then step three, again, if you're finding an angle, is to take the ratios inverse of the quotient of the sides. And I'll explain what all of that means when we actually get through an example. You do have the three different formulas that we'll be using over on your formula sheet. So today we're just doing tan. So this little symbol here is just the symbol that we use to represent an angle. So this just means the tan of an angle is equal to the opposite divided by the adjacent. So let's go through an example. So I've given you a right triangle here. This little angle symbol tells us that that is the angle that we're looking for. And then I have my two side lengths. So step one, I'm going to label my sides. So across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. Across from the angle I'm looking for is my opposite side. And then the other side is just my adjacent. Now I'm going to take my formula. So the tan of the angle is opposite over adjacent. And I'm going to plug in my two known side lengths. So the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So it will be 10 over 12. And then the last step, where I take the ratios inverse of the quotients of the side, what that means is, in order to cancel out the tan and essentially move it away from the angle symbol, the opposite operation of tan is to take the tan inverse. So I'm going to take the inverse of tan, which we represent with just a little -1, to cancel it out. And what that means is that I then have to do the same to the other side, tan inverse. So what that will look like is my angle is equal to the tan inverse of 10 over 12. And that might look really complicated, but it's not, because there is a button on your calculator for that. So on your calculator, you might see that you have a sine, a cosine, and a tangent button. And then above the tangent button is our tan inverse. Above all of these ratio buttons are the inverse. So I'm just going to go second tan, which gives me my tan inverse, and then plug in the 10 divided by 12, like so. It is important that you don't divide the 10 divided by 12 first and then take the tan inverse of it, because a lot of the time this will be a irrational number. And so if you round it and then take the tan inverse, you're going to get a more inaccurate number. So take the tan inverse or whatever inverse of the entire fraction. So I just hit equals, and my answer is 39.8. Because this is an angle we're talking about, it's 39.8 degrees. Okay, let's go through one more example just to make sure you have this down pat. Okay, so this time I've given you, once again, a right triangle. I've labeled the angle that I want you to find. And I've given you, in this case, all three of the side lengths. So once again, step one, label our sides. So my right angle is here. Across from it, I have the hypotenuse. This is the angle I'm looking for. Across from that is the opposite. And then the other side is my adjacent. So this time, the tan of the angle is once again opposite divided by adjacent, so 9 divided by 14. And then of course I need to take the tan inverse. So the tan inverse of that. So my angle is the tan inverse of 9 over 14. And I'll just plug that into my calculator all at once. So second tan 9 divided by 14. And I get 32.7 degrees is my angle. Okay, so trig is actually super easy. It's probably the easiest thing we're going to do all year. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it.